Schwiggity schwam, we're back to revisit Firewatch. On this sunny fall lazy Sunday afternoonage. And a little PS 420 trophy hunting. Cheesy or creepy? I'll go cheesy.
Hello there, welcome to the Firewatch audio tour. My name is Rich Summer. I voiced the character of Henry, the guy that you're currently controlling with those buttons there. And I'll be chatting with you in a little bit. Thanks for checking it out.
Oh no, my shit is gone.
Hi, I'm Sean Vanneman. I wrote the bulk of 100% of this game.
Hey, I'm Jake Rodkin. I did a lot of level design, UI design, and worked with everyone on the story for Firewatch.
The game has this weird structure that Chris and I talk about in another tape. This is the first thing I wrote, was this opening of the game that jumps between Henry's life and the trip out to the woods. And I used a little product called Twine to do that, which you can download and use. It's just a very simple choose your own adventure tool. The simplest way to program a video game that one can then share with friends and play.
I think we were worried that the team would sort of perceive Henry as a blank slate, as sort of a generic game player protagonist, and we wanted to make sure, or we wanted to get in everyone's mindset, you're playing as a specific guy with a specific life.
Yeah, there's a reason when you play video games that a lot of your protagonists have amnesia, because it's really difficult when you're driving a character around who knows things about their life, or his or her life, that you, who you ostensibly are that person, don't know. So, yeah, we kept trying to write an opening of the game that happened sort of like weeks into Henry's experience, and then quickly realized that it was like, well, why would he not be able to say X? Well, because his relationship with his wife is Y. So, but the player doesn't know that. Yeah. And this was the quickest way to get everybody on board, was to just take the thing that I wrote that answered the question, I think, for Jane and you at the beginning, which was like, who is Henry? And I would write these character profiles that were really bad. And then I went, what if I just let you play a thing? And then you can figure out who he is. And we held on to that until we had the idea to put into the game.
It means that when you're playing Firewatch and Henry and Delilah start talking about Henry's wife, you don't have to learn it through his dialogue, because you made the choices that brought him where he is today.
Passive or aggressive?
Hi, it's Jake again.
Hey, I'm Chris Remo.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Hi there. I was a game designer and the music composer on Firewatch.
Nice.
So you're hearing now the first piece of interactive music that went into Firewatch. The first piece of music that actually...
Responds to what you're doing in the game?
Exactly, yeah. So this is a piece of music that's divided into technically 6 parts. And what's happening is as you're playing through this introductory sequence, when you hit certain points in the narrative, it sends a signal to Wise, which is the name of the audio middleware we're using, and then when Wise gets that signal, it waits until the next sort of musically appropriate transition point, and then when it hits that, it smoothly transitions into the next section of music, and so it creates the effect that you're just listening to one big long piece of music that just happens to be timed very nicely
It just
to your
happens.
playthrough.
It just happens to get sadder and sadder at the exact rate that your life gets sadder and sadder.
Yeah, exactly. This was a challenging process, both because I had no idea what the music should sound like, and also because it was the first interactive piece of music in the game. So the technical sort of just how does this work was also a part of it. But as it turned out, this music was changed. I mean, Jake, you may remember this. This music changed relatively little over the course of development in comparison to a lot of.
I think it started off as maybe 3 pieces and it expanded out to 5 over development. But other than that, it's one of the first things dropped in, shipped. Get ready to hear about that a lot on this commentary.
So much drama on a Sunday, lol.
I'm Nels Anderson, and I was a designer and gameplay programmer on Firewatch.
I am Jane Ng, and I worked on the 3D environment art in Firewatch.
So you're likely standing at the base of your home away from home, your home in the wilderness. For all intents and purposes, more or less, this is basically just a real straight-up tower like they existed out in the woods, right?
Yeah, I think it is Portland. There's somebody in Portland who was very good about archiving a lot of, blueprints about various type of fire lookouts of the state, and we got some, and that's how we started off building the Firewatch. The lookout tower, just by looking through how they were actually built.
It's slightly taller than a real one, right?
We had to make quite a bit of adjustments because, for example, the stairway you see here, normally fire lookout stairways are not on the outside, but for more interesting gameplay and views for the player, we opted to change that. But ultimately we still wanted the tower to feel like a real tower, so we had to figure stuff like, hey, how does the plumbing actually work? How do they get water? Stuff like that. It actually is very important for a real tower.
And if you go look around the base of the tower, you will actually see a big old plastic cistern.
We are not a survival game of any sort, but it is important to make sure that all that stuff is actually thought out, so the space feels realistic.
Right. You don't want someone playing the game being like, wait a minute, there's no how does this guy drink? How is he not dead?
When I normally play video games, I'm always interested in stuff like, hey, where's the bathroom? Here we have the outhouse and you can go anywhere, but stuff like water is very important. So in a real fire lookout situation, what they do is they will use a cistern, and they will capture rainwater from the roof, and you will actually see that we actually have a little pipe down from the roof, and we even have what they call a first flush filter being there, which is actually what they use.
That's my favorite kind of filter, really.
Yeah, I had to look up what do they do, because once you go, okay, you collect rainwater from the roof, it won't be all nasty, and then hey, somebody already figured that out on how to collect rainwater. What do you know?
We actually visited a number of different lookout towers as we were researching the game, and it was always very satisfying to see elements of things we saw in the real world and make their way back into the game, and vice versa.
So we also made sure to have a tab here, like a little faucet, where you can actually get water from the cistern.
Yeah, if you click on it, it will play an animation of a hand gripping a knob and water comes out for 2 seconds. Doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But it's there.
I think for a while we actually were thinking, should we just let the player turn on the water? Or then what happens if the water just runs out? And then James had a very good idea of just going just make one animation that you turn on the faucet and turn it off immediately, just so that hey, there's water in here and you won't die. That's Henry.
Hello, Two Forks Tower. Two Forks Tower, this is Thoroughfare Tower. Come in. I know you're there. Your lights are on.
Hello? Whoever this is?
It's Henry, right?
Yeah.
I'm Delilah.
Yeah, that's what the guy said on the phone.
So, what's wrong with you?
Excuse me?
People take this job to get away from something. So, what's wrong?
What's wrong with you?
That's a great idea. Go ahead.
Look, I just hiked for 2 days, so I don't really follow whatever it is you're doing right now.
You take a stab at what's wrong with me.
Fine, then can I sleep forever?
Sure, buddy. Okay, now go ahead. You're just gonna wait me out on this? Ugh, fine. But I'm gonna take a second here and have a guess about you. Let's see. I don't know anything about you. I say you got fired from your job and have finally decided to write your novel. That's the sort of bullshit reason you'll find a man out in the woods.
Good night.
Welcome to the job.
Done done.
Good morning, Henry. Well,
Law
guess good
order
afternoon.
style.
You probably slept like a rock. Anyway, there's still a few hours of daylight to get some work in. I can see you at your desk, so call me when you're ready.
Hey, sorry, guess I slept in.
You got a relaxing, 14 hours of sleep? Woo!
Yeah, Jesus, I guess it's 6?
6:45.
Whoops.
Don't worry about it. That hike puts everyone out of commission for a day or two. But now that you're up, let me quickly get you acquainted with the job. There's a thing in the middle of your room with a round map on it. Do you see it?
Okay, yeah, I see it.
This is the Osborne Firefinder, invented in 1914 by W.B.
Osborne?
You use this to spot, you guessed it, What the fuck?
What is it?
Nothing. You use this to... Oh, fuck me!
Good God, language, lady.
Out your west-facing window. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are those fucking fireworks? I need you to confirm. Do you see them?
Whoa, that's not legal, right?
No. You need to get down there right now and stop them. Fire danger is through the fucking roof.
Is that really my job?
Your job is whatever I say it is. Look, the closest ranger is like 2 days away. Go down there and set them straight. Do you think you can handle that?
I'm not really a disciplinarian type of guy.
Well, make them knock it off without smoking a joint with them, okay?
Sure. All right.
Good. Get going. You'll probably need a rope to get down the shale between you and the lake, if I remember right. There should be one in the supply box on the way. The code is 1234. It's actually that for all of them.
Smart.
Shut up.
Nels, it feels like you on the team did the most sort of digging about what the real job is like, what is in the actual space, and then checked us against reality when we kind of went off the reservation.
I mean, in general, I really like doing research. That's sort of a thing I've enjoyed on all the projects I've worked on. So for this, a bunch of folks on the team read this great book called Fire Season by Philip Connors, which is kind of like a memoir-ish thing from this dude who still is an active fire lookout even today. But I also just I called up the Ministry of Forests and Natural Resources here in British Columbia and got redirected to like 3 increasingly small Ministry of Forest offices until someone just gave me literally the phone number of this cool old lady who had once been a fire lookout. So I just kind of chatted with her for like an hour and a half just about what doing the job was like. The reason why the game is not a simulation of being a fire lookout is because what everyone talks about is that the number one challenge with the job is that it is incredibly, impossibly boring.
Because you can't, like, read a book. You can't, like, be doing other things, right? Like,
not really.
Yeah.
At the end of day 3, where Delilah mentions it's like, Kenny's like, well, what do I do for the rest of the summer? She's like, you sit in that chair and you look out the window. That is actually what fire lookouts really do. So all the folks I talked to said, like, figuring out ways to combat boredom is the number one thing. The lady I talked to, she said she did a whole lot of needlepoint and cross stitch because you can do that without looking at your hands very much. Obviously, like, lookouts are also responsible for doing, maintenance on their towers. But again, it's like not maintenance because some crazy Yahoo smashed up your tower. It's maintenance like, oh, the paint is kind of flaking off, better paint it, or these trees have grown too tall, so I need to chop them down. Not, I'm chopping down trees to form a weird log bridge.
The main takeaway from whenever we would talk to someone who had done this job is, why would you make a game about that? That is the most boring time of my entire life. So hopefully we showed them how.
It feels like people who do this job like fall into 2 camps, right? They're the people who think they can do it and can't hack it and bail after like a month or 2. People like Jack Kerouac, who tried to do this and wrote about it in Desolation Angels, and then he went crazy from a lack of cigarettes and then left. Or the people who kind of enjoy the solitude and then figure out ways to deal with it. But, we do have like a lot of the window dressing for the stuff people use. Like other folks I talk to, it's like, what do you do? Well, we read a lot of books and we like trade the books between the different lookouts through rangers and stuff like that. So of course, Firewatch has a crap ton of weird books in it. Stuff like that.
Hi there, it's Jake.
And Chris again.
Hey, so here we are in the cache box clearing, or at least I guess that's what we call it. There's a lot of cache boxes in Firewatch, but this was the first one that we placed into the game.
For a long time, this was the cache box.
It was the cache box, even though we knew we wanted to have more. This area was actually one of the first areas that we built out to any degree that looks like a piece of the world. It was a really good proving ground for us. Like when me and Nels Anderson were grayboxing the world at the very beginning, we tried a million different things, like maybe this was on the edge of a cliff, or maybe it was a secret that you had to find. And I think it was Sean who suggested that he really wanted it to feel like a warm, sort of enclosed space, like you've stumbled onto a little glen and you want to stay there for a while, which I think makes sense because we wanted people to actually stop and poke around and have it not feel like the woods.
This was an area with a lot of firsts. I remember this really ended up looking a lot like Ollie's concept art in a way I think that felt like an accomplishment when it all got built out. It was also the first audio I implemented in the entire game, I believe.
The Foley on the locks and the lid?
Right, exactly.
Oh, this was also, the cache box was also our proving ground for detailed object interaction with Henry animating the lock. And also, there's an exit out if you back up and turn left. That was the first time I prototyped one-way drops and also any like sort of secret paths, because the way that you cross the canyon also showed up here, and I didn't tell anyone on the team about it for like months, and people only noticed it once they started playing the back half of the game, and it was very fulfilling for me.
Nice.
Cache box.
Cache box, land of firsts and secrets.
That's the state flag of cache boxes.
I found the supply box.
Great.
This vista is incredible.
Which one?
Down the hill from my tower. There's a canyon and then the rest of, well, everything.
Yeah, you should see what I'm looking at. An eagle has been hovering over this gorge for the past hour. And maybe if you're good, you can come by and see it at the end of the summer.
Hey, there's a tree out here that's been ripped to hell.
And?
Don't you think that's, disconcerting?
Henry, there are 500-pound grizzly bears out here. They sharpen their claws on trees.
We don't have grizzlies in Colorado. People killed them a long time ago.
Well, in the thoroughfare, they hunt people, they kill people, they bury their bodies, and then come back weeks later to eat them because they prefer rotten meat. People just disappear.
Don't you think that's disconcerting?
No, Henry, that's life.
Christ, lady.
Jake,
Oh, hey, Sean.
you did a neat thing here in the game that I like a lot, which is when you make a dialogue choice with Delilah about what this dangerous hill should be called. It shows up on your map, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, when we were putting the map system together, well, actually, the map weirdly was one of the latest things, one of the final things to come into the game as a fully fleshed out piece. But an upside of that is we built the map using a lot of tools we already had. For instance, the system that checks which things you haven't talked about, which things you haven't found in the game. Use the same variable list as our speech system. So when I was putting this together, I realized, not only can I put a mark down on the map when Henry finds it or talks about it, but I can totally look at the same tools we use for dialogue and figure out what the player said and put it on the map. And the end result felt really natural. I actually wish we'd gone a little deeper on it in the game, but I'm really happy with what's in there right now. Also, please name this shitty boss is going to get me killed, because that's objectively the best name for the hill.
Is that your handwriting?
Yeah, you got to cram that in there, but it's still readable.
No! Hey,
What the hell's wrong with you?
my rope snapped coming down the shale slide.
You didn't break anything, did you?
No, I think I'll make it.
Well, be careful for Christ's sake.
Hey, there's a tie-off point off here just a little away from the shale slide.
Well, you ready to get back on that horse, huh?
Well, I can't go any further is what I'm saying.
That heads south down to the creek, but you should be able to get to the lake just by continuing west. Without any, mountaineering.
All right.
It's a long summer. You can explore later.
It is a hell of a nice camping spot down here by the lake.
I haven't been down there in years, but yeah, Jonesy Lake area is perfect.
I'm staring at the big outcropping down here, but I'm not quite sure where to look for our pyrotechnicians.
Maybe keep heading west toward the lake.
Hi, this is Ollie Moss, and I was the art director on Firewatch.
I'm Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Let's talk about this teen
Let's
party
talk about
zone.
Let's talk about the Teen Zone. So the Teen Zone is one of the first areas that we used as a sort of art test to see how we would go about building the rest of the game.
We knew from the pretty early on that, like, on day one, you will start from the tower, and you will have to head down to the lake, and somewhere in between, you will see some teens, and they're partying. And so we called this the teen zone because this is where all the teen stuff is.
Yeah, and it was important to us that the reveal that it was a group of teens was communicated through the level design. So the idea was that you just kind of like walk through some trees and burst out into this scene where a campfire was still burning. And
you had a pretty strong idea of what you wanted to look like.
Yeah, I just wanted to put some big angular rocks in there, which is basically the like my modus operandi for the entire game. But we wanted to have a big angular sort of rock, which became known as Pride Rock because it looked so much like the rock from The Lion King.
We did name that Pride Rock, didn't we? That rock does serve as a very strong landmark pretty early in the game, and it kind of does point the player in the right direction.
Exactly. Should we talk a little bit about our process for designing these areas?
So in the beginning, when we just have like no concept art, we will just mock it out with just literally just gray boxes and a gray terrain. And then we will take screenshots and give it to Ollie to be like, please pretty this up, Ollie.
Oh, well, first of all, I'll do a terrible garbage sketch and pitch it to the team. And if people like the gist of it, then we'll go away and do a bit more of a detailed drawing, and then you would go.
Yeah, we'll add in some more shapes. And then we just keep going back and forth with paint overs from Ollie. And
then it's just a sort of tennis, really, just back and forth between the two of us until everyone's happy with what we have.
Yeah.
Finding a bunch of empty beer cans. They threw them all over hell.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, sure am.
Ugh, people are just the worst, aren't they?
They're not great, no. What do you know? People with shitty manners drink shitty beer.
What, you don't like a cold Musqua Light on a hot day?
No, I do. But then again, I didn't say my manners were any good. Better than these fucking litter bugs, though, that's for sure. Oh, look, they decided to have a campfire, too.
You know, they color-coded the fire danger signs in case people were illiterate. But I guess that doesn't take into account just plain stupid, does it?
They left half a bottle of whiskey. Decent stuff.
Drunk pyromaniacs. Fucking great.
Oh, shit. Ferret are Irish. Found the fireworks. They didn't even try to hide them.
Ugh. Well, confiscate them.
they left their packs tied up here.
Don't fuck with them. The last thing we need is some hikers filing a report about harassment.
Well, they left their clothes out to dry. It looks like 2 people. What if they're naked?
Won't that be exciting? Look, they're obviously still there, so tell them off and then head back.
I found a bra.
A nudie pyromaniac. Remain professional.
There are, panties?
There are what?
I don't want to say that word again.
Why, 'cause you're 12?
There's a... Ooh.
Yes?
There are 2 naked ladies out here.
Can you handle that?
Come on, I like naked ladies, same as anyone, but there's, you know...
2?
Yeah.
I know this will be tough for you, but try to pick your tongue up off the ground and do your job.
Okay. I found them in the lake.
Skinny dipping.
Yeah.
Is that a guy over there?
Oh boy. Enjoy dealing with that.
My name is Patrick Ewing. I worked on tools and gameplay programming.
The teens, Patrick.
Let's open some old wounds here.
This is like going back to like an old battleground and being like on these hallowed grounds.
Yeah,
Bad
I died on
things
this hill.
happened. I died on this hill.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most complex interactions in the game, if not the most, right?
Yeah.
And it was in the game from the very first vertical slice we did, and then I think we kind of added to it as we played through it and saw like, oh, we should be able to throw the boombox in the lake, obviously, right? Okay, the teens need to react to the boombox being in the lake. Oh, but then they should also react to you putting it down.
What you should do if you're making a video game is build relatively ironclad, predictable AI and systems that react to inputs. But instead, we built a series of relatively flimsy state machines that were like, if this, but not when, and also if.
Right.
And we're able to create this scene as designed. And Patrick was sort of the shepherd of this scene. So whenever anything would break, if you were to throw the boombox and the teens were not to respond, or you leave with the boombox and they would talk about something else, it was Patrick's job to ferret into the state machine and figure out what was going on.
Yeah, and I'm happy with how it turned out. There are so many different ways that this scene can play out now, depending on what you choose to do. Do you throw the fireworks at them? Do you talk to them and then start messing up their stuff and throwing it in? And it ends up being pretty believable. They feel like real characters. It's just such a crazy spaghetti code in the back end that I'm always terrified when I see someone play through it, that there's some interaction that we didn't think about.
Right now the player is interacting with the teens in a way that is completely not by the book. And
I mean, luckily we
beads
haven't...
of sweat or building on your brow.
Yeah, I think it's just a PTSD response at this point. We would see the bug reports if this was actually still breakable.
Yeah.
You gotta take it easy with the fireworks, all right?
You ought to take it easy at the Sizzler buffet.
Chelsea!
What? He's just some loser out in the woods. I mean, he's grody. Why do guys think it's all right to just stare at girls?
Look, I'm sorry for bothering you. Can you just knock it off, please?
Yeah, you should be. This is a free country, and we should be free to do whatever we want.
And free from any peeping toms!
I said sorry.
Oh my god, is that what you are? Bark me out!
Ew! Can we just get out of here?
Ew, totally.
You're gross.
You're just some sad man out in the woods.
So I made you mistake.
Hey, that go okay?
It's done.
Oh, wow. The music's a little loud.
Oh, sorry. I took their stereo.
Okay, well, I guess we're all even then?
Yeah, I think so.
But seriously, though, thanks for dealing with it.
Any chance of those kids getting a disease in this lake, like diphtheria or consumption or...
Consumption? Not if they're not 19th century chimney sweeps, no.
You know, whatever.
I mean, if they drank a bunch, Giardia maybe, but probably not this time of year.
That's too bad. Hey, there's a trail to Two Forks Tower down here near the lake.
Yeah, that's your tower.
So I should go this way.
Well, you're not climbing back up that slide. have a bit of a confession to make.
What is it?
Look, I was drunk last night when I welcomed you to the job.
Yeah, well, you're not the first boss to be guilty of that.
I know, I know I can get a little pushy, putting you on the spot about why you're out here and stuff.
It's fine.
I'll keep that sort of a thing to a minimum. Anyway, let me know when you get back to your lookout.
Hi, everyone. This is Ben Burbank. I'm a programmer at Campo Santo, predominantly doing graphics work and performance stuff. And I'm here with Jane.
Hi, I'm back.
And we're going to talk a little bit about, in general, how the world sort of streams in. This is a big open world game. There are, tens of thousands of trees somewhere in there?
Yeah, and we have how many chunks of the world that we stream in and out?
There are 100 plus.
Yeah, I think over 120.
One of the big challenges with that was we have to remove parts of it when you're not looking at it, because video game consoles and computers don't like to draw things that aren't seen.
Especially not a lot of trees.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for that little graphics card to do to try and draw all those that big forest. So the canyon's one of the spots where we have obvious occlusion where you can't see most of the world. So we unload the tower hub. The tower that you see in the canyon is fake. It's a small fake version.
Yeah.
Which is a common trick.
Yeah, so it's a very low cost version of what it would actually be there.
One of the biggest challenges for Jane and people building the levels was figuring out line of sight. So how far can you see? If you have a point where you can see entirely across the map, we had to be very careful about what is actually loaded and what's actually drawing.
Yeah, so even though the canyon is pretty much a straight corridor, we had to put in some kinks in there. So, right sort of in the middle, there's a little area where you have to go around a rock. This is so that we could make sure you won't be looking at the lake when we basically delete it out of the world.
Yeah. The game also, it's sort of non-linear. There's a linear story going on, but there's the ability for the player to just go backwards. So we also had to keep in mind reverse line of sight and things like that, which is a little different than a traditional action game or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little puzzle game almost to figure out when we stream in and out things. So hopefully you don't notice any of it, because if you do, that's actually us not doing a great job.
You probably will notice it though sometimes. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, I heard some thunder.
Yeah, I've got eyes on a storm out to the north.
Well, that's bad, right? Because of the lightning?
It just means we'll be busy. Hurry home, and try not to get hit by lightning.
I got hit by lightning when I was 9 years old, so I'm safe. It's not going to strike twice and all that.
Well, there was an old lookout named Roy Sullivan who got hit by lightning 7 times.
I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, well, if it makes you feel any better, it wasn't what killed him.
What killed him?
Suicide. Would you believe?
There's a horn or an antler or whatever.
Well, antlers are made of bone, and horns are made of the same stuff as your fingernails.
I guess this is a bone.
Antler. A ranger must have found it this spring.
What's in this cave down here?
In Thunder Canyon?
Thunder Canyon?
Hey, I didn't name it. But in the cave, I don't know, rocks? NFS tells people not to go too far in there. It's pretty dangerous.
So
I say, fuck it. You're a grown man, you can go where you want.
great. Used to go caving with someone back in Colorado. She loved it. Might be great to explore it sometime this summer.
Well, that could be fun. Obviously, be very careful.
It doesn't seem that dangerous. Whoa, whoa! Oh, no!
Henry!
Seriously, it's completely fine in here.
God damn it.
This cave is gated off.
It's to stop spelunkers from dying without getting the keys from the Forest Service office first.
Makes sense.
Although Debbie says she lost them like 3 years ago, so maybe its mysteries are locked away for good.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, but maybe you can find another one to get your caving kicks in.
Oh, this one's so close to home and convenient, though.
Aw, sorry, Hank.
Hi, I'm Jane. We're back.
And I'm Ollie.
Let's talk about this cave, Ollie.
Oh, let's not.
This cave really gave us all quite a bit of headache, actually. I was actually kind of having a mini panic attack because one of the hardest things to light in games actually is any area that's sort of half indoor and half outdoor, and this cave is a pain in the butt to light.
It is. Well, having we thought you'd be an old pro at this, having worked on a game called The Cave. But yeah, it caused a lot of problems in terms of the logic gating of the environment switches, because every time the time of day changes in the game, it then like sets that time of day.
Because there's no doorway, really.
So the way the cave is lit, it actually just changes the time of day in the whole game. So like when you hit a trigger, if you could somehow magically transport yourself back outside the cave, you'd see like the sun spinning through the sky, the sky changing, and it was really hard to make that process invisible to the player and make it feel natural.
Not to mention that when you're inside the cave, everything also has to look really dark. And we use a method called image-based lighting throughout the game. And that basically means that all the objects, like all the trees and rocks, just look out to the sky to see what their lighting should be. And so in the cave, we actually had to do sort of like a fake sky for anything inside that is just pure black. So the lighting inside would be appropriately dark.
But still navigatable to a player without the flashlight.
Exactly. And also to be able to have a smooth transition when you're going from the brightly lit outside to the really dark inside and coming back out again, and having all the appropriate logic for the time of day, like Ollie said, it was just a real pain in the butt.
There's some guy out here.
Some guy? Wait, he's looking at you? Is he doing anything else?
I don't think so.
Henry, there's something someone should have told you about this area.
What is it?
It's outside.
Come on.
The whole thing. And people come and go as they please. It's madness.
Yeah, okay. I get it.
Look, bumping into someone in the middle of nowhere is part of the fun.
I love the little details in Firewatch's branching dialogue. There are a lot of very subtle, hard-to-notice things that Sean put in while writing it that you really couldn't notice without multiple playthroughs, but they add up to this feeling that you're talking to real people who, just like real people, kind of echo back things you said earlier, who continue in jokes that have been established, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the subtlest that I don't think I even noticed till I was rewiring the game midway through is the spooky figure who you meet towards the end of day one.
Spooky figure. If the teens call you a creep, Henry calls the guy who's putting a flashlight in his face a creep.
Right.
And he goes, "There's some guy out here creeping," or he says something like, "He's a creep out here." She's like,
Yeah.
"A creep, Henry." He's like,
Right.
"Yeah, there's a guy who's spooking me out here. I don't like it." And I mean, I like doing stuff like that. I pay a lot of attention to the sort of infectiousness of language.
Yeah.
Especially in this office, someone will start using a turn of phrase that then I'll be at lunch with someone later, or I'll be out with Jake or whatever, and then I'll hear the phrase
Theory crafting?
through them,
Yeah.
where it's like, like if somebody was saying, "Oh, there was a total creep outside at the bus stop," then it wouldn't be long, like 18 hours later, it would be totally conceivable to hear Jake be like, "Oh yeah, that guy's kind of a creep. I don't know if we should have him by or whatever."
Yep.
And I'd be like, "Man, okay, like that word is now like bubbling along the surface of our social network here."
Mm-hmm.
And people are like that. People are weird, sort of like passive, like non-participatory sponges sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just like putting that stuff in the writing. And you can do that in games in a way that you can't do that in other media. If you do that in like a book or something, it's so double underlined that it feels like you're making a big point as an author. But in a game, because it's player driven and it's passive, it just feels causal and the way the world works.
that trail isn't closed anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I took care of the blocked path. It was backbreaking, but, anything for the service.
Well, thank you.
Anytime. Ah! I don't think there's any fictional character I hate more than Forrest Burns.
Henry, as an employee of the Forest Service, that is treason.
Yeah, well, he really freaked me out as a kid.
He inspired me to spend the bulk of my 30s keeping the wilderness safe.
A shrink would have a field day with you.
Thanks, Mom.
What kind of name is Forrest Burns anyway?
Well, that would be a pun, Hank. A glorious pun.
I went to junior high with a guy named Royal Butts.
Royal?
Butts.
I didn't think anyone had been named Royal since the 1850s.
Well, Royal's mom, Flo, was a bit of a trendsetter.
Flo Butts? Oh, man, that's even worse.
Yeah, well, it's still better than Forrest Burns. So it's just the outhouse then, in terms of going to the bathroom?
You're a man, Henry. You can go wherever you want. Well, number one at least. And, full disclosure, I pee wherever I want as well.
So this generator is all the power I've got out here.
Yep, it doesn't go through much gas, and, well, you don't have much in the way of electronics, so...
What about my hairdryer?
Oh, I'm sorry. You might just have to make peace with frizzy locks.
I could never. I feel like I'm going to be murdered when I'm in the outhouse.
Feeling a little exposed, are we?
Hey, no man in the history of the world has felt tough with his pants around his ankles.
Well, be strong. You can always call if you're having trouble.
Sure, I'll do that.
Chris again here.
Hey, and Jake, congratulations, player. You have completed the Teen Loop.
Oh man, that's true. This is the end of what was originally called teenloop.unity, a scene file in our game engine Unity, because we thought that was just going to be the file corresponding to the first
this piece of game that you've just played.
Yeah, this first big objective.
But then we kept building, so all of Firewatch is in fact saved inside of a file called teenloop.unity. So know that for the rest of your play experience, you are inside of the Teen Loop.
Yeah. This part of the game, you probably are right now if you're listening to these commentary notes basically in sequence. The music is either about to kick in or has just kicked in. It's dark. You're finding your tower's been broken into. This, I really strongly remember feeling when this went into the game and had the music, which was actually the first music implemented in the entire game. All this stuff together felt to me like the first real moment of assertive tension in the game, and it felt really crazy.
Yeah, because we had our environment system working for the first time, so the sky turned to nighttime, and our world logic allowed the tower to switch into its broken into state just when you were off in the world for the first time, and then when that music finally came in, we're like, oh, wow, okay, this is a world that's alive and can be tense and cinematic. and all of it happened without us ever having to cut the camera. I remember we were all very proud and stoked of that.
For sure.
That was like right before we first demoed the game, I think, at the Penny Arcade Expo.
Yeah, because the end of day one was the end of the first demo.
Yeah.
Right before this, there's the moment with the creepy guy in the woods, and that was sort of a moment of tension. But that's also arguably maybe not, because it's immediately deflated by Delilah.
Right, but this
was like,
holy crap.
Okay, I remember feeling kind of nervous about it because it was like the game is declaring this is a tense moment, and if it falls flat, we have failed. We can't like make a joke to diffuse it. And I think it basically worked, and it was a real relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ba, 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 ba.
What can I do for you?
Well, my typewriter is on the ground outside of my tower.
You right?
Yeah, look, the wind? No. How the hell
You should get inside.
Fuck me. Someone broke in.
They what?
They wrecked the place. Threw my typewriter out the window. Motherfucker!
Holy shit. I'll let the Forest Service know what happened. Okay, I put in a call.
Well, what can they do about it? Will they catch whoever did it?
This is the Forest Service, Henry. They're not exactly Hawaii Five-0. Do you have any idea who would have done this?
I did probably piss off the girls at the lake. Ugh, fuck them.
Well, I'll have the Rangers keep an eye out for a couple of young women and question any they find. I can't believe someone would do this. I worry about bears and fires, and that's about it. And now I've got to worry about some, violent campers? Okay, in the morning I'm gonna call my friend Patty, who works the desk down in Cody. They keep a list of everyone who's officially been in and out of the trailhead since, I don't know, forever, and see if we can get a list of names. We won't get much, but at least if anything else happens, we can refer to it and see if anything comes up.
Thanks.
I need you to feel safe out here.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, you can protect yourself, huh?
I just don't worry about it.
Perfect. Keep that attitude up and you'll have an excellent summer. Wake up. Hey, wake up.
I'm awake. I'm awake. What's your problem?
Our problem.
Sorry, our problem.
That storm knocked out the phone line I used to talk to the service, which means we're cut off. I tried radioing out, and that's not working either. I don't really know why that would be the case.
Should I be worried?
About what?
We can't get help if we need it.
Oh, you're tough, Hank. You don't seem like the guy who likes to ask for help.
Sure.
What I need you to do, though, is hike out to where the wire runs through your area and report back if it's down. Then I can track down a ranger to get someone on it.
Okay, I can do that. Where is it?
Remember that cave you hiked through yesterday?
Yeah, of course.
So you're gonna want to go back there, go through it, and keep going straight to the north when you come out.
Will do.
Thanks, Hank.
It's Henry.
What, you don't like Hank?
Yeah, I don't like Hank.
But thanks rhymes with Hank.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, all right.
You wake up pretty early then, huh?
As soon as the sun comes up. Forest Service really frowns on us putting up curtains for some reason.
I'll get used to it. Been a bit of a night owl for a long time now.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, fires don't really start until 11 a.m. or so.
Seriously?
No. Good lord.
I just thought maybe it was one of those things like how earthquakes only happen at sunrise and sunset.
That's not true either, Henry. Jeez, we're really letting anyone in these days.
Can you see the communication wires from where you are?
I can see the poles, but I have no idea if the wire's in good shape or not. They run a good distance up to a spot called Beartooth Point. You just need to walk along them all the way up there and make sure everything's in ship shape.
Hey Alexa, play Despacito, okay.
Oh, it's actually pretty damn cold out here.
Roger that. Warms up fast. The mornings are cold in Boulder, though, right?
Yeah, they are.
What did you get up to down there? I mean, what's life like?
Boring if you don't ski. We used to go to this bar called the Dollar, though. I love that place.
Oh, wait, is that down on Pearl? They have all the money pinned to the ceiling?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I love that bar. Why don't you go anymore?
I took this job.
Oh, duh. Hey, can you hold on a sec?
Sure. Just gonna keep hiking and hoping it warms up.
Heyo. I don't think so. Why, have you? Okay, good. No, I don't think he has any idea. I'm absolutely sure. Would you? All right, I'll let you know if anything changes in that regard. Hey, sorry about that. Anyway, if there's anyone or anything you want to talk about, fire away.
Who was that?
Who is who?
I don't think he has any idea. What was that? Were you talking about me?
What?
You left your button pressed or something.
Henry, that call was work. I was just talking to... Actually, it's not really your business. Why are you freaking out?
I'm not freaking out.
Good. I'm gonna go quiet for a little bit. Call me if it's important.
I can see the wire you're talking about. It looks like it's in good shape from here.
We'll follow it up to the top of the trail if you can. You can head back as soon as you give me the all clear.
Got it. So we really can't reach anyone any other way than these wires?
What else do you suggest? Smoke signals?
Just seems dangerous.
Well, if they don't hear from me for a few days, they'll send someone out, but I'd rather it not come to that.
Hey, I found a structure that might have been an outhouse once, I think.
Whoa, you don't need my permission to go to the bathroom, but, use abandoned shitters at your own peril.
I mean, I'm in the right area?
Yeah, the wire runs quite a ways north. Just follow it up to the point that I mentioned.
This outhouse is in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I hate to tell you, but everything out here is in the middle of nowhere.
You know what I mean. Am I on the right track?
Just keep following the wire to the top of the ridge, and then you can head back.
Anything I should know about the cabin at the top of this hill? Hello? Okay, then. Found an old hat from a Korean war vet.
You'd be surprised how many former service members take this gig.
Well, makes sense.
I imagine if you've been through war, you probably can't get enough silence.
Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Sean.
It's nice that we're doing a tape together.
I know, is this the first one?
It's our first and only one.
Oh, that's a shame.
I feel like we've done so much together not on tape. At least not recorded in a way that you know about.
Okay.
And here we are talking about Hawk's Rest.
Hawk's Rest.
You concepted this area quite a
Yeah,
bit.
the idea was that it would seem from the outside a sort of innocuous little house on the edge of a cliff, much like your own lookout, but when you open the door you get the surprise that it's been burnt away and you just see a vista and sort of rush of wind as you open that door, and I thought that would be a really fun reveal to the player.
Yeah, and I sort of screwed it up when I first wrote this scene, because all the sort of Hawk's Rest dialogue and all the stuff about Raccoon Carter was as you were walking up the hill, you could report the cabin, which was a lookout tower, at the top of the hill, and then get into the story about its former inhabitant as you were approaching it, and then it sort of buried the moment in a way. So we took all that stuff out, and I hacked in very, inelegantly, I think, that Delilah just doesn't answer you when you ask her about what the house at the top of the hill is. And then you get to experience it alone before getting the story about Raccoon Carter, and I'm really happy with the way that worked out. Also,
there's a secret.
But the raccoon that lives in the stove that you may or may not know about is only there on certain days because of a myriad of design reasons. But if you're here on any day that isn't day 2 and you open that stove, there's a little critter in there. And that was animated by James, textured by Ollie, drawn by Ollie. I really like that raccoon, Oliver.
Thanks, Sean.
You did a very nice job on that raccoon. Also, you did a very nice job on the rest of the game, and I'm only going to tell you that on the Hawk's Rest tape. I'm actually going to edit this out. I don't want anyone hearing me ever compliment you.
Fantastic.
In the record, but because it's only taped together. But yeah, I really love the way this area came together.
It's lovely. Lovely the way it is. Very nice. Well done. Hey, it's Jake again.
And Mark's here.
So, is there anything style-wise that you had to consider on this game as opposed to doing work in like I don't know, a lot of the other stuff you've done is probably more AAA in scope.
Yeah, I mean, my previous work, I've done a lot more just ridiculous, over-the-top Hollywood-type blood squibs and explosions and laser beams and that kind of jazz. So it was neat to just sort of like stop and think about what the relevant effects to walking around a national park would be.
Right.
Just sort of ambient, natural, secondary motion that you would want in the world without it being obnoxiously overpowered as most things you would do for a AAA action game.
You know, the entire world looks hazy and covered in smoke as the fire gets closer and closer, and obviously we couldn't just fill the entire world with smoke because everyone's graphics card would melt and it would also look like a big pile of garbage. So it seems like you and Paolo, who did a lot of the sort of programming side of this, ended up inventing this thing that the team called the Henry's Smoke Barfer, which
I do think Nels actually coined that one, but yeah,
it was probably Nels.
Yeah, it's a very Nels thing to say.
Yeah, Henry at this point in the game is wandering around with basically a pigpen cloud around him. When you see the sparks flying around on day 79 or the sort of lingering haze on days 77 and 78, that's actually just Henry's body emitting those, then leaving them behind in a trail.
I made up a group of emitters that rotate around the watchtower that, you know, if you look real closely, you could probably make it out, but it gives that sort of feeling of it's super intensely smoky outside without having to...
You're in the middle of this big swirling storm, but actually it's just, 6 feet of smoke spinning around the outside of the building.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay, the wire's down here.
Really? Awesome. Good find.
It's like, I don't know, a mile and a half east of me. You just follow the trail up the hill, you can't miss it. I'll go see what the damage is. Hey, who are these guys, Ron and Dave? They're leaving notes for each other in the boxes. Is there any chance one of them was that guy I saw in the canyon? You know, the guy with the flashlight?
No, they're both rangers. They're not out here this season. I didn't really know him that well, but I always assumed the only thing Ron cared about was chasing tail and getting loaded. It's somehow comforting to know that he was able to keep up a correspondence with someone who wasn't going to send him a topless Polaroid.
Alrighty friends and fellow stonerers. Time for me to hit the daily tables. We'll be back later to able down this game again. Thanks for watching. Have a smokin' lazy Sunday.